right? So I want to deal with what's happening at our border, and these politicians are so corrupted right now. I have no confidence in them at all.
As you all know, especially those of you who have been following me a very long time, more than 20 years, I have been covering the border wars, the cartels, the drug wars, the nexus between terrorists and narco traffickers in Mexico and Central and South America. Also look up at the northern border and all those dangers that we're facing up there. And I feel blessed to have had just so many wonderful sources and people in my life that I believe are on the front lines of this battle, fighting every single day to protect our children and our nation from what I believe is a direct war and assault on our country by our adversaries using these cartels as proxies and using our own weak government and weak position, especially under the Biden administration, using those loopholes to bring these horrible weapons into our nation, which they're drugs, and God only knows what else. And the fear of terrorism. And what does that mean to us? And how do we as a nation confront this when we have an administration that does not care about us? It does not care about you. President Biden could care less because his policy is to leave that border wide open. And every single I'm not just saying this because for political reasons. I'm not saying this for political reasons at all. I am saying this because over the last 20 years, I have been watching that border, watching what various administrations have done from the Bush administration all the way through Trump, all the way to Biden. And I can tell you this, we are facing one of the most dangerous times in our country because for one reason or another, we have people in Washington, D.C. that are, in my opinion, aiding and abetting the enemies of the United States and allowing them to target our children and target our communities and target our country with narcotics and a tsunami of humans that have not even been properly vetted. A tsunami of people that are being released into our nation without any care in the world as to what those consequences will mean to us. And that's pretty frightening. And that's why I have Derek Maltz on again with me today. He was on yesterday, part 1. Today is part 2. Derek Maltz, former head of the DEA's Special Operations Division. Yes, he is a man that has done the deep dive and has put everything on the line, fighting not only the cartels, but was first able to expose under Project Cassandra, Hezbollah's work with the cartels in the United States and how the Obama administration basically took that operation and just broke it in half because the Obama administration, which I believe is the administration right now, wanted to cut deals with Iran. Well, Derek's going to come on and he's going to talk to me. I mean, Derek's a part of my team with Border 911. I don't know if I've stressed this enough, but if you haven't gone to border911.com, if you haven't gone there, you need to go there because we have started a nonprofit. It's Tom Homan, former head of Immigration Customs Enforcement. We have Mark Morgan, who was with the DHS, top of the DHS. We have Rodney Scott, former CBP chief. We have Jason Jones, great reporter, great investigator who was with actually the Texas Department of Public Safety before he is now a reporter at Newsmax, a great colleague on the border. It's hard to keep up with him now. We also have Victor Avila, a true American hero, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Yes, Victor Avila, who survived a very gruesome and terrifying, horrific attack in Mexico by the drug cartels. And we're all going to be in Arizona, Derek Maltz and I, with all of our team in Arizona at Turning Point USA. Yes, we are going to be discussing the border and the policies that need to be implemented and need to be put back in place as a new administration comes to Washington, D.C. It just has to happen, folks. 2024 cannot come fast enough. And Derek and I are going to be discussing that and so much more, and what you can do to help save your children, your community, your state, and your nation from these monsters. But first, let's talk about ExpressVPN. This Christmas, as you're pounding down potatoes and gravy, I want you to think about everything you've looked at on your phone in the last few days. Who's in charge of the Wi-Fi you've been enjoying on all of that content on? Is it your dad? Is it your sister-in-law? Is it your grandmother? Well, guess what? That person has access to all the websites you've been looking at, unless you do what I do and use ExpressVPN. Yes, ExpressVPN is an app that I have on my phone and computer that encrypts all of my online traffic. So whatever I do stays private. Right now, get ExpressVPN's special holiday offer. Go to expressvpn.com/SARA right now, and you can get 3 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/SARA, expressvpn.com/Sara to learn more. Right now, Congress is debating whether or not to pass what they call increased border security because it's attached to Ukraine aid. Republicans want to force the Democrats' hand on this. Democrats are not pleased. Here is Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. He's talking about what he thinks of the proposed changes to the border policy. Take a listen to this, Derek.
It's very different to say on top of that funding, we are going to make major changes in law. And that's what Republicans are asking for. They are asking for very severe, very draconian immigration policy changes that they know could not pass if they weren't holding up support for the war against Vladimir Putin.
What do you think about that? I mean, where do we find the balance between all of this? I mean, what is the responsibility of our Congress?
So right now, I mean, I'm not being disrespectful to the people over in Ukraine, but we've given them how many billions already? I want to see the people of America safe from the invasion at our border. That's my priority. And right now, this president and this Homeland Security Secretary can make a couple of policy changes immediately. Just go back to what President Trump was doing and just immediately shut down the invasion by doing a couple of things. That would be very easy. Doesn't cost any money. But they're not even willing to do that stuff. It's almost like it's disgusting that they're totally neglecting the national security of our own people, but yet they want to continue to give money to people around the world. I understand the politics of providing money to Ukraine is important because we don't want the Russians to take over and get into other countries in Europe. I get all that. But I don't want the invasion coming into our communities in America. I don't want to see a 1-year-old go to a daycare center in this country who dies because fentanyl is all over the mats in a daycare center. Okay, we have so many victims now that don't have substance abuse disorder. These young people that have no life ahead of them now because they're in the ground. They've been buried, right? Remember at the rally in D.C., 3-year-old Cash from Kentucky, his mother was walking around with the kid in the coffin, right? So I want to deal with what's happening at our border, and these politicians are so corrupted right now. I have no confidence in them at all.
I know, and I think about that too. I think about all those families that have lost their children. Over 100,000 Americans every year lost with this deadly overdose, and not just that, poisoning of fentanyl in our nation. And I think about it, Derek. We are literally at war. You and I say this every single day. Parents are coming out of the woodworks from everywhere, from small towns in Maine and Wyoming and Ohio and Oklahoma, Texas, California, you name it. Someone in every single state in this nation has lost somebody they love because they have been targeted and poisoned and killed by fentanyl. And yet our government is sitting there lecturing the American people on how they and we have to save Ukraine from the Russians. And I get it. I can't stand Vladimir Putin. I think he's a maniacal leader. I think he is a terrible human being. But come on, we have adversaries like China and others targeting us. And the only person that's really benefiting from a lot of the policies that are happening in the White House really are those adversaries. I mean, I don't see Vladimir Putin backing down anytime soon. I see Zelensky coming over and telling us what to do with our money. And I see parents crying every single night on television, just begging for somebody to listen to them, to pay attention to them. And I mean, maybe it's just me. I know a lot of parents are listening out there and they listen to you. What do we do? How do we get our country back, Derek, if it's our own government that is selling us out?
Well, exactly. I mean, obviously, elections have consequences, and we're seeing the consequences of the last election. Although I have my own opinion about the last election. Anytime you
Me
have
too.
anonymous voters and just mail-in ballots with no accountability, there's going to be corruption. It's that simple. When you have dead people voting all over the country, that's not what we want in America. That's what you get in a banana republic. But my opinion is, like, right now, we're bleeding so much from the poison that's in this country already. The only way we really can stop that is we have to use the military and the intelligence community. We have to try to work with the Mexican government. We don't want to do anything unilaterally in Mexico. But just like we destroyed ISIS and just like we've destroyed other insurgents and terrorists around the world, that's exactly what we have to do to the cartels. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen with this current administration. I mean, they don't even want to talk about the problem. And when they talk about the problem, they're using old talking points and they're not sincere. I mean, President Biden had to read off note cards the other day in the White House.
Right.
It was embarrassing. He put me to sleep listening to him talk about he wants to do everything to shut down the fentanyl crisis, but yet he's the one that has a wide open border, and he's facilitating, his policies are facilitating the cartels in China to kill all these American citizens.
I agree with you. And I really think there has to come a point where our bureaucracy, as long as they're not in on it, they may be in on it. They're obviously appointed by President Biden and his administration. Some of the folks that work in there at the highest levels need to say, whoa, Mr. President, guess what? Time out. We're done. We're done. We got to go to the White House. They got to sit there in the Oval Office and say, we are not going to accept this anymore. But if they don't do that, it just tells me they're a part of it. That's why we see Secretary Mayorkas doing what he does and getting away with it. That's why we see the heads of the DEA and everybody else. You know, if you don't have the courage, and I mean, I had a light bulb moment, Derek, while I was in Harvard, right? I was at Harvard, and a lot of people say, well, you know what? Students don't want to challenge the professors or the school. They just want to get through it. They want to get their degree. They don't want to be, you know, ostracized or thrown out of campus. And I realized we're raising a bunch of wimps. Like, isn't the whole job of going to college is to become an independent thinker? And then you put those people who are strong in their convictions, strong on principles, strong on moral value in government, so that when they get to the FBI, when they get to the DEA, when they get to the White House, they have the courage to stand up and challenge the system and say, this is unacceptable. There must be something, you must be corrupt. You must be getting payola, because I don't know how you're letting our country suffer like this. Am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not wrong, but you're forgetting the most important point. Welcome to Joe Biden's America. This is deliberate.
Right.
This is the plan. And that's why we're seeing all of these really odd things happening. I mean, we need leadership. We don't need sheep that are following everybody. I mean, we need leaders that are going to stand up for what's right. And unfortunately, that's fading away as well.
Well, that's what we're going to be doing in Arizona this weekend, coming up, and next week. You and I will be heading there. Hopefully I'll see you all Sunday night, but as part of our Border 911 group. And again, I want everybody to get out there, go to border911.org, border911.org to see what we're doing. But we're working hard. I mean, Derek, you are at the top of your game on this. All of your years of experience, all my years of experience, Tom Homan, Mark Morgan, Rodney Scott. Let me know if I'm forgetting someone. Victor
Jason
Avila,
Jones. Don't forget Jason
Jones,
on the
Jason
border.
Jones on the border. I love Jason. Jason Jones. Yeah, don't let me forget him. I love Jason. I think he's brilliant. He's a great reporter, and he also worked with the Texas Department of Public Safety for years in their intelligence division. He is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant investigator and reporter. So tell me a little bit about like what you're hoping. I mean, I know what I'm looking forward to doing there at TPUSA and also out on the front lines to, you know, recruit more and more people to support our mission to fix our border with Mexico.
Right. So So, Sarah, the way I look at it is I'm just very blessed and honored to be part of this team of 7 patriotic Americans that actually really care and want to give back and do whatever we can to pretty much let the public know what's really going on, what the facts are. I think the key to this whole, trip is to recruit as many other great Americans to understand that we do have the facts. We're not reading them from a book. We talk to law enforcement. We talk to different people in the government, and we talk to others around the world, and we get real-time information, and we want to make sure that all Americans are educated at the top of the game. With all the social media now going on, we want to make sure that we have authentic information, and not just about the drug trafficking, but the open border, the sex and human trafficking, the arms trafficking, all the illegal activities run by the cartels. We want to make sure that everybody is educated on that. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of motivated people out there. But again, we'll see what happens. We'll see, we know the team of 7 will continue pushing as hard as we can. I just hope we can get the support from these other people that are out there. I know there's some great Americans that are doing reporting. I read and I watch the videos from the border every day. Ben Bergum, he's in people's faces in Chicago.
Yeah,
he's out
awesome.
there in New York. He's unbelievable. He's awesome. He's out there. He's part of our team unofficially. He'll be involved helping us. But again, I go back to one thing that I just want to stress. Like Tom Homan, Mark Morgan, and Rodney Scott, if you just talk about those 3, they created and they helped President Trump initiate all these policies that created the safest border we've had in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
And your lifetime, right? And so why would anyone want to reverse those policies? We want to keep it simple. When President Biden says that international drug trafficking is a huge national security threat, so why then are we facilitating their ability to dump the poison in our citizens' hands? Why? I don't understand it. When Chris Wray talks about the Chinese and they're the biggest national security threat, why are we allowing them into this country? Why are we still giving them visas where these kids are running around America picking up suitcases of cash from the cartels and then turning the money over to Chinese businessmen that are investing in property, in real estate, in farms, and they're setting up counterintelligence operations. And now they're poisoning our citizens' brains with this very pure THC marijuana. Why are we allowing that to happen? And I don't think enough people really have connected all of these things. People still think this is a southwest border problem. They don't even realize that the 9/11 hijackers came across the northern border. And the northern border is a mess as well, too. So we have a lot of problems here. So hopefully we can recruit as many other, great Americans that are coming to this conference to help all unite and to continue to push full speed ahead.
Allegiance Gold. Thank you so much, Allegiance Gold, for being a sponsor of the Sara Carter Show. You're the reason why we can bring great guests on like Derek Maltz. Imagine a future where your retirement is protected from the storm of market volatility, the erosive forces of inflation, recession, government meddling, and economic uncertainties. Imagine retiring with peace of mind and the freedom to pursue your own dreams. That future, my dear friends, can become your reality courtesy of Allegiance Gold. And right now you can get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you visit protectwithsara.com today. That's protectwithsara.com today. Get up to $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you visit protectwithsara.com today, or give them a call at 877-702-SARA, Sara, and speak with one of their experts. They'll answer all your questions and they'll help you get started on a path to a more secure and prosperous retirement. Time is of the essence. Protect your future with Allegiance Gold. Visit protectwithsara.com. That's protectwithsara.com. I covered the border since the Bush administration, and I never even saw the Bush administration do its job. I was an equal opportunity offender when it came to Republicans and Democrats. I had no problem. The first time in my life that I ever saw anyone do anything about the border that was worth talking about was under President Trump. And that's just a fact. That's not me saying I like one guy over another person or over another woman or anything. It was just a blatant fact that under President Trump, whether it was because he selected, the right people at the time and he was willing to back them up. And I know you tried and you did your darndest and everybody else under Obama. And I don't take that away from the men and women who are fighting to protect our border and protect our nation. But we need an executive branch that's willing to back them up.
Right. And one other thing, Sarah, we talked about the Chinese bombing of America. Remember,
Right.
And I know I've told you this, but in 2014, we briefed Attorney General Eric Holder on this massive, what we define as the perfect storm of death and destruction, when the Chinese started working with the Mexican cartels and the Dominican traffickers, mixing this pure fentanyl coming from China into the heroin that was coming out of Mexico. And it was really, really disturbing because we started Operation Death Merchant just to deal with this problem. But again, it was kind of like, just brushed off. And,
what did Eric Holder say? What did he do? What did he say? Was he not like, holy shit, we got to stop this?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I was running SOD, when we briefed him on Project Cassandra and we showed him the volumes of cash that the terrorists were, moving for these drug traffickers, he was blown out of his seat. He was very concerned. But it's kind of odd that with all that reaction, with that emotion that he showed, that then we didn't get the action. So I think it was above Eric Holder, honestly. Mm-hmm. It was in the front office of the White House, right, that these decisions were being made. And we always talk about this shadow government that's still operating, because we all know that Joe Biden is not in the White House every day, working 24 hours, coming up with these strategies. Like, he can't even stay up for 2 hours, right? He's not going to be working.
He falls up, Derek. He falls up. He doesn't even fall down.
I don't want to laugh because it's very sad, but we all know that he's not making these decisions. It's the shadow government. It's these people that have been recruited over the years from the former administration, when Obama was in charge, that are making these decisions.
I think they just do not want, and I absolutely agree with you. I remember leading from behind being the motto of the Obama administration, and I still think they are. I'm going to let you leave us on a high note, though. I'm hoping that maybe you have some words of wisdom that make me feel a little bit more positive than negative about the future of this country.
Well, I would say that, there's so many great Americans that still care about the country, and I see people are fighting, and I know the Team of 7 in Border 911 is going to continue to push and recruit and gain some momentum, and we will win. We will overcome. Hopefully, we will turn the election around. I feel that America is just going to continue to unite. I see it. I smell it. I talk to people every day, and people are getting very upset. So I think we're going to expose some more of the stuff that's out there. And I think that, we can turn it around in 24 because the news right now is impacting everyone. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat to see how you're being impacted. Look at the insurance that's going up, the food, the gas. So we can't sustain this current trajectory. We're going off a cliff, so we have to stop it. And I think we will do it because there's plenty of great Americans.
I think we will too. And every single one of you, and this is what I say every time I give a speech, every single one of you that's listening to Derek and I right now, you are a warrior in this fight. You are one of the troops, right? One of the troops in this battle to win back our nation. We can't get complacent. We cannot underestimate our enemies. We have to overwhelm the ballot box. We have to sacrifice a little bit of our time. I know we don't have a lot of time to spare. Just like Derek said, milk costs more money. Everything costs more money. Gas costs more money. We're trying to get our kids through school. We're trying to work hard so that we can pay the bills. But none of that is going to matter if we lose our nation to these leftist radicals. None of this is going to matter if we lose what our founding fathers wanted for us, which was a great constitution based on liberty and freedom and giving us the power, not those boneheads in Washington that don't even deserve half of them, even the time of day that we give them. I thank you so much, Derek. I can't wait to see you in Arizona. We are going to win this fight. We are going to win this fight. You always make me feel better. You're the general. You're in charge. You give me the direction. I'm just going to get the people, and we're going to go out there and fight the fight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and all your work over the years. It's been awesome. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Derek, for coming on the show today. You're not only a great friend, you're a true American patriot. I look forward to seeing you this weekend in Arizona, folks. Make sure you are subscribed to the Sarah Carter Show here on your favorite podcast app. Don't care if it's Spotify, Apple, whatever you listen to. Get on there, leave us a review, leave us that 5 stars. It really makes a difference. And by the way, I do read every single one of your reviews. I think that's vitally important, and it really does help us. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter GC, and on Instagram at scartergc. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God protect us from our adversaries, and God bless the great state of Texas.